and you know the format of the presentation. So if you click the link, you can go to this web page, and then basically your presentation is about 5 or 6 pages. In total, you can spend around 10 minutes. I think. Page 1. So your paper is written in 2 ways, either deductive or inductive. Suppose you write a deductive. You write term paper in deductive way. Page 1 is introduction. It tells you the research question and then proposition. Term X, term Y, something like this. And page 2 is a logic to the proposition. Theory and theoretical background. Key literature from theory to proposition. So there is a proposition. So in order to drive a proposition, there must be a theory. That's very important. This proposition shouldn't be out of your brain. No, it shouldn't be. It should be grounded in a theory, well-established theory. So you need a logical thinking and your creativity and logical thinking to connect the existing theory to your proposition. Okay. Page 3 is data. Explain what is your data, how did you collect the data, how did you define concept X and Y. Remember, your proposition is term X, term Y. So you have to define concept X and concept Y in data. Okay? And data analysis, you can show the variation in X, variation in Y, and tell whether your data validate your hypothesis. Okay? You show change in X, you change Y. Of course, it is not enough to just explain the correlation between X and Y. There should be logical causality. You should show the data correlation, and you should logically argue that they have causal relationship. X causes Y. Conclusion: state what you have learned and the limitation of your analysis. That's the deduction. There is another way, inductive way. Introduction, research question, background literature. Okay, and then it is inductive. So you go directly into the data. Now, how did you select your cases data? What method did you use to collect data? And then you go to data analysis. Match the variation in one variable and variation in another. There is possibly within case variation. If you do case analysis, there is within case variation and cross case analysis. Investigate the variations of variables. Variation in X and variation in Y. Okay? You investigate how X change and how Y change. And then now you match two cases. You have to match change in X and change in Y. Okay? So change in X, change in Y, respectively, is within case analysis. Matching changes of the two variables is the cross case analysis. And then from data analysis, now you shape hypothesis. Term X1, term Y1, term X2, term Y2 from data. And then you have to justify your hypothesis. And conclusion is very important in the inductive case. You have to now, remember in the deduction, you have to ground your proposition on existing theory. Now in this case, you have a hypothesis and you have to connect this one to the existing literature. What does your hypothesis mean to the existing theory? Compare your result with conflicting literature. Compare your result with similar literature. And what did you learn? This is very, very important. Actually, this is harder. Inductive one is harder, actually. Because you start from data and you have to convincingly generalize. That's very hard. Right? You have just a couple of cases. How you can now generalize to other cases? That's a very tough one. Therefore, you have to rely on existing theory. Therefore, inductive one is harder, in my experience. Right? Possibly you find some case in Malaysia or Indonesia. Question is, okay, it is maybe true in your case in Indonesia, but how you can generalize to the Korean situation, US situation, or European countries? That's tougher. Then you have to learn theory. So it is 5 pages, but you can use 6 pages. Depending on your analysis, maybe you want to add 1 more page. Whether it is fine. You can add 1 more page in data analysis or shaping hypothesis or whatever. But I'll give you 1 room, okay? 1 page room. So 5 pages, but if you need 1 more page, you can use 1 more page. Okay? In principle, 5 pages, but up to 6 pages, it is possible. You can split 1 page into 2, basically. Select just 1 page and select it 2. Question about the okay, that's a slightly different story. Okay, it is also hard one. Like some people say, suppose there is a theory that all swans are white. Okay, all swans are white. Suppose there is a theory, and now you do the inductive research, and suppose you find a black swan. Then actually that is enough. Existing theory says that all swans are white, but now I found a black swan. That's all. Actually, that's enough. Okay? It is enough to break one theory. Just one sample is enough in this case, right? That's what I mean. And that is actually very hard, right? That would be very difficult. And what I mean by generalization is that you find a bunch of swans, and you found that they are all white. And now you have to generalize. Okay, in the case you can generalize, you can find your findings that all swans are white. So the challenge is you find a couple of swans and you find that they are all white, and the question is how you can generalize that all swans are white. Then you may need some theory. Okay, so it depends on your hypothesis. Anyway, whatever you find, there must be a literature. If you go to the literature, there are some results similar to your finding and some results different from your finding. Then you have to discuss both of them. Okay. Any other question? 아니, 비슷한 주제를 하는 논문이 아니라 프로포지션이 있으면 저게 어떻게 저 프로포지션이 나왔는지를 본인이 논리적으로 설득을 해야지. 내가 그냥 생각해냈어요. So what? 아무도 그거 인정해주지. 기존 문헌들이 이렇게 모든 사람은 죽는다. 소크라테스는 사람이다. 그러므로 소크라테스는 죽는다. 소크라테스가 죽을 거라는 하이파소시스가 있으면 모든 사람들이 죽는다는 티어리가 있을 거 아니야, 도출은. 그런 걸 얘기하는 거지. 무조건 관련 있는 리터러처를 하는 게 아니라 본인의 프로포지션과 하이파소스에 정확히 부합하는 걸 가져야겠지. 또 질문. 논리적으로 생각을 해야 될 거야. 뭐 지금까지 열심히 했을 테니까 별일 없겠지, 뭐 잘하겠지. So the most important part is logic. It should be logical. Everything should be logically, tightly linked. Again, let me explain this one in English again for Bill. Deductive method is like all people die. Socrates is a person, therefore Socrates die. Something like that. So your hypothesis is that Socrates will die. Then page 2 would be about all people die. Okay? Existing theory about dying people, something like that. And then from this, you have to logically derive. And we know Socrates people, therefore from theory, you have to logically derive Socrates will die because he is a person, because he is a human. Something like this. When you do the literature review about Socrates will die, maybe you do the Google search about keyword search about Socrates and you can explain what Socrates say about philosophy and something like that. But they are totally irrelevant literature review. Relevant literature review is the people will die. Bunch of discussion about Socrates' philosophical argument is irrelevant for your hypothesis. So your literature review should be logically and tightly related with your proposition and the only to the proposition. This one too. Suppose you find person A die, person B die, person C die, something like that. And then you did literature review such that A did something in their life, B did something in her life. That's irrelevant literature review. Okay. 본인이 잘 생각해봐. 내가 그것까지 말해주고 싶지는 않네. 그것보다 좀 더 제너럴한 데서 일단 출발해야겠지. 연자상거래 시장이 시장의 효율성을 증가시킬 것이다. 왜? 무슨 시어리에 근거해서? 잘 생각을 해보세요. Any other question? So you will do the presentation on next Wednesday, which is December 2nd. 뭐 그럴 수도 있지. 아무튼 잘 생각해서 이 정도는 내가 충분하게 설명해 준 것 같아. 본인이 상식적인 수준에서 논리적으로 한번 잘 해봐요. 바로 그런 데서 여러분의 역량이 드러나는 거니까. 그렇지? 여러분의 역량과 상상력이, 여러분의 논리적 사고와 창의적 사고와 상상력이 그런 데서 드러나겠지. 여러분이 얼마나 능력이 있는지, 그렇지? 임플리케이션을 뽑아내는 거, 그렇지? 잘 해보세요. 여기서 뭐 못한다고 학점만 좀 망하는 거고 별거 없잖아, 그렇지? 이런 데서 얼마나 마음 편하게 연습해야지. 사회 나가서 이런 거 잘 못하면 평판이 나빠지고 월급이 떨어지고 직장의 불안정성이 증가되고 그러는 여기서 극간 나빠져봐야 학점밖에 없어. 이런 데서 연습해봐야지 이런 거. 여러분 사회 나가면 알겠지만 사람마다 능력의 차이가 참 심합니다. 어쩌면 저렇게 누구는 일을 잘하고 누구는 저렇게 이렇게 미흡하고. 군대에서 느끼지 않았나? 군대에서 보면 일 잘하는 사람, 못하는 사람, 성실한 사람, 아닌 사람 차이가 쫙 나잖아. 똑같은 사람들인데. 직장도 똑같이 공채 시험 보고 똑같이 입학 시험 들어오는데 참 묘하게 능력이라고 불리는 흔히 말하는 능력치나 뭐 이런 게 차이가 쫙 난다는 거지. 네. 지금 빨리 연습을 해야 돼요. 빨리. 네. 나 또 질문. 네. 참 신기해. 다 비슷한데 뽑을 때 보면 비슷한데 왜 이렇게 일시키 보면 쫙 차이가 나는지. 학교에서보다 훨씬 차이가 많이 난다는 거 시험 보는. So let's go to today's topic. 질문 없죠? 아니, 세상 일이 다 그래 보면, 그렇지? 다 똑같은데 다 똑같은 학생이고 보면 다 멀쩡한 게 막상 100m 달리기 시켜보면 차이가 쫙 나잖아. 그런 게 아닐까 싶어요. 다 똑같이 수업 들었는데 시험 보면 수학 시험 보면 누구는 100점 맞고 누구는 페일, 쫙 또 차이가 나잖아. 그런 게 똑같이 사회에서도 일어난다는 거지. Yep. So we will learn unnatural lag and convexity adjustment. I don't think they are such a important topic. They are not important. Okay, I'm sure they are not important. And you can study yourself. Study them yourself. They are not important. However, I want to cover it because in order to review what you learned previously learned, okay, just for review purpose, it is boring to go through what you covered in the previous class again. That would be very boring. But if we use another topic and they indirectly review previous one, that would be more fun. Therefore, although I don't think they are such an important topic, they are too technical, but still I think it would be fun in order to review the previous important topics. Because they are all just applications. Of course, they are, in practice, they are important. I mean, I don't think they are academically, scholastically, they are uninteresting. I mean, so we are in academia, right? We are not in business, we are not in field. We are in academia, so academically they are not so fun, not so exciting. But it does not mean that they are practically unimportant. They are practically important, that's why it is still in the textbook. Everything in textbook is important in the field. But not all important thing in field is in textbook. So unnatural lag and convexity. Okay, so it starts from review. Okay. The live market model. So it is a good opportunity to review live market model. The live market model assumes a relatively straightforward dynamics of the forward rate under the natural new model. Natural new model. Straightforward means it's just log normal distribution, right? Martingale log normal distribution. Okay? When you use new model, zero coupon bond, that's new model. Okay? In particular, consider again the security with payoff at time t given by GT is GRN tau t. So it is some sort of derivative or asset. Depends on interest rate at time tau, right? Like Kaplan, William Kaplan or Florid or swap, something like that. One interest rate depending. Bond is not this kind of security because of bond depends on series of interest rate, right? Not just one particular, because we have to discount future cash flow up to today, so it depends on series of interest rate. But it just depends just one shot, one single interest rate. Okay, so very simple. And we have 2 times tau and t. Tau is t minus delta, and the delta is like 6 months, or 1 quarter, or 1 month. If we define n as an inverse of delta, it is 2 in case of half year, 4 in case of quarterly frequency. So it is a time between the events. Okay? N is the frequency per year. So in our, what we until now is that this payoff, okay? See, we have tau over here, tau. So this payoff is function of R and tau t, but cash flow actually occurs at time big T. Right. So interest rate, like November interest rate. Suppose we know November interest rate, actual cash flow depends on that November interest rate usually occurs at the end of November. Right? We know November interest rate, and we know what we will receive from the bank at the end of November. That's the usual way. So that's why we have T, not tau. Okay? We don't receive money at the beginning of November, right? Because of November interest rate something. We should put money on November interest rate, and we receive money at the end of the November, right? That's why we have tau. That's usually the case. There is an annual interest rate at the beginning of year 2015. Annual interest rate is known at January, but we don't receive money in January. We actually receive money on December. Right? That's the case of most turbine. And the test makes our life easier in terms of valuation. Because of this lag, we were able to use the Ford risk neutral dynamics implied by the live market model, and that was a nice formula for power option for example. That makes thing is that because cash actually occurs at big T, we use numerator this one. Okay, so that's actually make our life easy. Okay, the basic idea is that under T Ford risk neutral dynamics, F and T tau T, this is a forward rate determined at time T, forward rate between tau and T, and we determine that forward rate at time small t. So if we do T forward risk neutral dynamics, then log normal model with mean this one and variance this one, and then basically our valuation is that we simply get the expected value of this G thing, and then we discount it back. Okay? This is what we learned until now. So in the live market model, what we do is that we know this one, we can simulate this one. We can simulate RN. For each simulation, we calculate G, and simply we discount it back. Right? And then in live market model also, this R and tau T, expected value of R and tau T is actually, as we learned, today's forward rate, right? So we know expected forward rate, and it's martingale, and the variance is this one. So because it is, we know this data, so based on this one, we can simulate this one. Mean of this one is this one, and variance this one. Of course, log normal distribution. So basically, the idea of live market model is that since we know mean and variance with log normal distribution, we can simulate Rn, and for each simulation, we calculate the G, and then average. So we get E star, and then we discount it back, we get the valuation. Okay, so that's the basic idea of everything. Okay, especially this log normal part, it is live market model. Very simple, very powerful method. And the question is, of course, we can ask intellectual question. Right? What happened if the security passes at time tau instead of t? So until now, we assume cash flow occurs at time big T. But what if cash flow occurs not in big T, but in small t? now we can ask that question, right? That's how we can do it. Such a situation occurs very often for numerous securities called in-area securities. Not as often, but not as often as the cash flow at time big T. But there is still the cases about this one. Cash flow occurs tau, not T. That makes our life slightly more complicated. But we can do it. We can resolve this. I mean, one idea is that if cash flow occurs tau not in big T, we at least know value we should increase, right? We should increase, right? Because we receive money earlier, right? Tau. So at least we know the value we should increase. And the question, how much it will increase? At least we know the bottom. Okay? But what is the exact value of it? For instance, example, in area swap is like a plain vanilla swap, but in which the cash flow at time. So in usually swap contract, cash flow occurs in the case big Ti plus 1. But in areas swap, cash flow occurs Ti. That's the difference. Okay. Where C is the swap rate. Okay. The cash flow at time Ti depends on LIBOR rate Ti, this one, not the previous one. So that makes our life slightly complicated, not Ti minus 1. In areas caps like plain vanilla swap cap but pays, so this one is cap contract like a call option. So it's payer with n notional value. This delta is time, and then this one is simply this one is the interest rate at time Ti, right? So cash flow occurs at time Ti. This one are case strike rate. Okay, this is another example. In areas caps. So in general, consider that a security with payoff at time tau is given. So again, we have tau, not big T. In areas contract. That's how we can do that. In the LIBOR market model, we know R and tau T has a nice properties under the natural numerator, namely, it has log normal distribution with this one. Expected value is forward rate in LIBOR market model. We know forward rate, and the distribution is this one. Okay, in this numerator, but we don't know the distribution of Rn when we can change the numerator. Okay, for this particular numerator, so we know this. So actually, in the case, it is not difficult. We can slightly change it. The model using this numerator, we find that so instead of Z, so it is similar. We discount from Z to big T, and we get expectation. But since the cash flow occurs to tau, we have to multiply inverse of this one. So we have to basically, because the cash flow occurs not in big T but in tau, we have to expand. We have to multiply this one, right? Because Z is always less than 1. If you multiply inverse of Z, E is greater, right? If you multiply discount factor, you have a present value. If you divide something with the discount factor, you get the future value, right? So that's why we get the future value, right? In some sense. So the thing is that in order to get the cash flow at time T, we first get the future value up to big T, and we discount it to the 0 again, right? That's the logic, right? Because cash flow occurs time tau. So from tau to big T, we multiply, we expand it, then we discount up to time 0, right? That's the logic. Simple, isn't it? It makes sense, right? Right? That's all, in some sense. Not so difficult, isn't it? So what we have to do is now, instead of simulating G, we have to simulate G over Z, right? But Z is actually easy, isn't it? Thing is that whenever we simulate R, and so idea is we simulate R and tau T, right? We can simulate because we know it has a mean of forward rate and variance of forward volatility, so we can simulate Rn. Once you simulate Rn, you can also simulate it implies about Z, right? So you can simulate this one. Any question? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, for example, for this one, yeah. Okay. For this one, suppose you simulate, right? You can always simulate R tau T, R and tau T, right? You can simulate R and tau T. Once you simulate R and tau T, then discount factor Z tau T is simply 1 plus Rn tau T and then delta over 1, right? So you simulated this one, you can simulate this one too. Right? So simulate this one, get the average discounted back, done. So easy. So there's nothing difficult about it. So let's take an example. Consider the case in which the payoff is linear in 3 months LIBOR. 3 months LIBOR. GR and tau T is notional value of N delta, like this one. So let N is $100 million. So N is notional $100 million. So strike interest rate. Not strike interest rate. Okay, something like swap rate. So anyway, our case strike rate is 1.5% and tau is 0.25, T is 1. So delta is 0.25, 3 months. Delta is 3 months. So N is 4. It means cash flow occurs 4 times per year. Okay. As of November 1st, 2004, we also had a forward rate. Okay. So basically, we are interested in, we should simulate the interest rate from 3 months later, from 9 months later to 1 year later, right? So in order to simulate that, we take a look at forward rate from 9 months later to 1 year. And then the data, the newspaper says that forward rate is 2.8987%. Okay? And suppose you have a quant in your team, and the quant analyst says that, okay, the volatility of this particular forward rate is 25, around 26%. Then you have everything you need. And the discount rate is also given. You have discount rate, present value, basically zero coupon bond price with maturity 9 months is 0.98, and zero coupon bond price for 1 year is 0.97. Actually, now you have everything. Okay, you have everything. And basically, if we use this one and this one, you can of course use this one, right? 2 zero coupon bond price implies a forward rate as well, right? So actually, you don't need this one and this one, this one. If you know one of the 2 out of 3, you can recover the other one always. Okay, as you know. Now, if the payoff is paid at time t, suppose let's take a look at the easy case first. Easy case. If cash flow occurs at time t is 1, that's something we already learned, right? If cash flow occurs at time t1, not tau t equal 1, then the forward risk neutral method in place is value is, okay, first we get the expected value of z, okay, and discount it back. What is expected? We have to go into risk neutral world, and in which, okay, if we go into risk neutral world, and then our new model is bond zero coupon bond. Zero coupon bond. Right? And G looks like this. And the risk neutral world, okay, people are all risk averse. No, every people is risk neutral. So future interest rate, because people don't care risk, it means that future interest rate, expected future interest rate, should be exactly the same to the what we agree on today, which is forward rate, right? So we go to forward rate, right? So all you have to do is change this one into the forward rate, because expect other things are all constant, right? So because everyone is risk neutral now, we have to get the expected value of future interest rate, and that should be today's forward rate because everyone is risk neutral, right? If people are risk neutral, if forward rate is greater or lower than the future interest rate, people take massive long position or massive short position about future forward rate. So forward rate should be exactly called future expected interest rate. And then this is risk neutral, we have to discount it in zero coupon bond price, zero coupon bond, risk-free rate, Z0T. That's what we learned, what we always did, right? That's the basic idea of all valuation. So it is easy. So Z0T is 0.978. So we know all the values. So basically we know expected value of this one. So we can simply get rid of this one, change it to an F, and then we put all the value here, then we get $0.6817 million. Very, very easy, right? It cannot be easier than this one, right? Okay, that's what you know. Simple LIBOR market model for the risk neutral volatility. Actually, it is not even LIBOR market model, okay? Because we didn't assume anything about the distribution yet. We just this one, okay? It is not even LIBOR market model. Okay, that was a review, all right? Any question until now? So this is what we can do. But question is, what if cash flow occurs at tau? Okay, that would be the question. Consider now the case in which the same pair is paid at tau, not t tau. Okay, so we know value should be greater than previous one, and how much? And then we use what you learned. Now, simple. VZ0T is expected value of ZRN, and we have to put money to the forward future and then discount it. Okay, right? First, we have to send the money because we receive money at small tau. We send the money in the future to the tau, and we have to discount it this one. And then it is the Z tau tone, and then we have G is this one, and about Z part is discount factor. So Z part it is inverse of Z part, so we have this one, right? This one. Yeah, this one. And now we inverse, so we have this one, right? Right, so we have this one. So it means Z0T is N sigma. Now expected value is this one, so same, right? Expected value this one is F, we know that, and then RK, and this one multiplied by this one. So you have another K, and then we have unknown term. Okay, now we have to get the square of the R and T things. Okay, we have square now. Okay, but anyway, we can do that. Now, above, the second equality stems from the definition Z tau T is 1 over 1 per T, while the last equality stems from the development multiplication inside the square. And then using again that this one is whenever possible. And of course, this one is slightly more complicated, right, than the previous one. In the previous case, we don't have this one and this one. Now we have two more terms, this one and this one. But they are fine, okay? The latter formula is clearly more complicated than the earlier one. However, luckily, under LIBOR market model, now we have a LIBOR market model. We have a closed form expression for this one, under T for the risk neutral dynamics. Okay, we have this one. On the LIBOR, if we use LIBOR market model, we have this one. Because in the LIBOR market model, Rn follows log normal distribution. Square of the log normal distribution is also easy to calculate. I'll let you know again. And given the result, okay, if we believe LIBOR market model, this one looks like this one, so we have value. So if we click, if we plug this value here and everything we know, then the final value is V is 0.6926 million. Okay. Okay. About this one, this particular part, or upper scale part, there is a actually we learned this one. Where is the other thing? Actually, we learned live market model. Okay, square. Here it is, right? So, look, in the page, this is page 25. Page 25, there is a problem. If a variable x has log normal distribution is mean variance, this one, then for any alpha, power of alpha has a distribution, this one. In our case, alpha is 2. Alpha is 2 because it is square. Right? So this one. So we already know formula. So we are simply using the formula in page 25. Easy, right? Actually, you can prove this one. About this particular formula, you don't have to memorize it. You can actually prove it just integrating the integration of exponential epsilon with standard normal. Anyway, you can prove it by pencil and pen. You can either Google it about this formula. Log normal, if you type log normal distribution in the Google, then there are a bunch of discussion on the web about log normal distribution, and it is easy to prove. I don't want to do that, but so we have this. We are simply using this formula. Okay. Where is it? Yeah, get it. And so we know this value using previous formula. We know this one. The final value is 0.69626. Is lower than this one, okay? It is greater than this one, 6869, okay? So it is exactly in line of our conjecture. Okay? This value is higher than in the case in which the pay workers at time t. Natural, because we receive money earlier. And then we have interest part. Note the volatility of interest enters in the pricing formula. Right? We have volatility for the rate. Remember, cash flow is the linear function of interest rate. But question is, how come we have volatility? Right? And in addition, if you look at this one, because everything occurs because we have square term volatility. So if future interest volatility is higher, okay, it means this kind of contract, value of this contract increases. This is very interesting, because of payoff. Because payoff of this contract is simply a linear function of future interest rate. But how come the value of this one is increasing in the volatility of Rn? Right? That's a very, very interesting part. Right? There is no volatility in the contract, and the volatility and the value of this contract, if we receive cash flow at time big T, there is no volatility in the formula. But if we receive money at small tau, now volatility matters. Question is why? That's very interesting, isn't it? Right? Just receive money slightly earlier, how we can make more money if the volatility increases? Right? Any idea? How come? How is that possible? Right? Either payoff is linear function, there is no square. And then if we receive money at time big T, as you can see this one, there is no volatility square term. But if we receive money at time small t, then suddenly we have a volatility term. And this volatility occurs because of the square term. Why? Why is that? Mathematically straightforward. If we have volatility, because we have a square term. Square term happens because the z term, discounting factor, interaction of discounting factor with the interest in the payoff. Mathematically straightforward, but intuitively, and economically, why is that? So it is convexity. It is called convexity. It means that it's like a bond. Bond is also convex in interest rate. The economic intuition is that take a look at this formula carefully. Okay. if interest rate go up, let's take a intuition. If interest rate go up, then in that case we receive more money through payoff, right? Because this G payoff is increasing, right? But if interest rate goes, so interest goes, we receive more money, we are happy. In addition to that, if interest go up, the future value from tau to t big T is also increasing because of discount factor. Because if high interest means discount rate is smaller, means the future value is higher. So if interest rate is high, we make money in two ways. First, we receive more money from cash flow contract, and second, the future value is higher from perspective of tau. So it makes more profit to receive tau instead of t because interest rate, or particularly cost of capital, is higher. On the other hand, interest rate becomes lower, we receive less money through contracts. In addition to that, it does not make much value to receive money slightly earlier because interest rate is low. If interest rate is high, we would be very happy if we receive money earlier. But if interest rate is low, we wouldn't be so happy if we receive money earlier. At tau, isn't it? That's the source of convexity, right? Speed of the increasing benefit is faster if interest rate go up, right? Because we make double profit. But if interest go down, it faster, so it is convex. The payoff is exponential, right? Like this way, exponential, right? Square function. That's why we have square term, and that's why volatility matter. That's basically intuition. So speed matters. Right? The book, this is simple intuition, and the book has more in detail. But I don't think it wouldn't be hard. We can read this one together. The results in the previous example leave us with a puzzle. Why does the volatility underlying live rate enter into the pricing formula when the payoff is linear? Is this a problem with the live market model or more general problem? To see this, it is useful to return to the pricing methodology of this simple security and the role of the lag between the timing of cash flow formation and its payment. Let n is 1 for simplicity. In the case, so nominal value is $1 million. And the G is simply n is 1, so G is delta Rn minus Rk. And we can decompose this one 1 plus Rn delta minus 1 plus Rk delta, right? Add 1 and something, so this one cancels out. Rewrite it. The second term is a fixed payment and its value of simply, so it is two separate pieces, this one and this one. So if payment occurs at time big T, in which case it is easy, right? Not tau big T, the usual case. The fixed payment, this part is easy to get the present value. We can get the Z0T and this one. So present value of this one easy. And the present value of this one, so first term appears compute. This second term would be slightly more difficult because we have to predict this one. However, remember this is a floating rate, right? So it is similar to like a valuation of floating rate bond at time tau, right? So suppose, so this is second term is easy, right? We simply multiply this Z0 big T. And this first part looks slightly difficult, but first part is also not difficult because suppose now we are at time 0, but suppose we are at time tau. If we are at time tau, it means it is a floating rate bond. Do you remember what is the value of the floating rate bond? Value of the floating rate bond is simply face value, right? Do you remember this one? Yeah. value of floating balance bond is simply face value. So at time tau, the value of this cash flow is simply 1. Because at time tau, we receive money at time peak, so and we have to discount it at the interest rate, but we discount it with this rate, so value of this contract at time tau is 1. So value of this one at time 0 is Z0 tau, right? However, here and the fact that although this payment occurs at time t, it is formed at time tau when r and tau t is real. So at time tau, we will be able to value this cash flow exactly as a simple present value, right? So this v is very critical. If r is the value still, the first term is simply the discount factor z0t, and no uncertainty here either. It is floating rate bond at time tau. So therefore, value of simply v is z0 tau minus 1 plus rk0t, right? This is simple. This is another way of calculating the model. So this value is model free. It does not depend on whether we use live market model or any other model. Completely model free. Right? So now we are not even using live market model. So, I mean, it is very important. Do you understand what is going on? How we came to this one? 왜 말인지 알겠지? 이규 학생 이해가나? 어떻게 여기까지 왔는지? 기영삼 학생 이해가지? 오케이. 남정식 오케이? Okay, so we are interested in the present value of this one. Okay, this is cash flow. So we present value of this one is the value of this one. So present value of this part is simply the cash flow occurs at time t, right? Not small tau. Let's think of the easy case first. Then present value of this part is 1 plus 0 tau big T 1 plus RK delta, right? So present value of this part is easy. 남정식 이해가나? Now present value of this part is slightly more complicated. So suppose we are at time tau. Now we are at time 0, but suppose we are at time tau. At time tau, the value of this one is simply 1, right? Because it's floating rate bond. Or because at time tau, cash flow occurs 1 plus R and tau, and we discount it because cash flow occurs at big T, we can discount exactly the same rate because interest rate is known at time, so cancels out to 1. Cash flow is exactly 1 at time tau. 너 알겠지? So tau, so at time tau cash flow 1, so present value of cash flow 1 at time tau is Z0 tau. Right? So value of this construct is simply this one and this one. This one minus this one. 이해가지 이제? Okay. Now let's move to the next. So it is model free. Finally, the factoring of Z0t. G0t, we have Z0t. So we factoring out this one, so this one becomes this one. But the ratio between these two discount factor is simply fourth rate, as we learned. So we have this one. Which isn't the value formula we used earlier. Yes, in this case, we do not even use fourth rate live market model. It is model free, completely model free. It is basically no arbitrary argument. So cash flow, of course, at time big T, it is life is such an easy. Note that the lag between cash flow formation and payment T, tau plus delta, was a key in eliminating the uncertainty, right? Because we receive cash flow later, now there is no uncertainty. That's the key. We eliminate uncertainty about future value of this one, right? That's the key part, right? Simply this one. No volatility should enter the formula with natural lag because it is completely future risk of the Rn completely removed. So there is no way, if we receive cash flow big tau, volatility is irrelevant because this Rn is cancelled out. Cancels out like this one. It's 1 plus 1. So there is no volatility in the model. If instead there is no lag, if we use cash flow a bit earlier time we have a problem, then we will still have to deal with the uncertainty about R. Intuitively then the expected future value appears through its expectability source. Okay? If we receive cash flow earlier, now it is not cancelled out, so we have to take into account the uncertainty. So why does the volatility also answer though? In particular, why does it increase the value of securities? Why? Actually, I already explained, but let's read it together. To under this last point, compare the floating leg of security that pays at time tau with the one that pays at time big T. In both cases, the cash flow is R and tau T delta. Because now T security areas, now tau security pays earlier than T security. This cash flow is more valuable in the former case than the latter. This is what you know. Then how much more valuable? By the capitalization of payment R and tau T from tau to T. That is, right? Because in comparison to receiving cash flow big T, now the difference is exactly square of this one and this one. In the previous, now if we receive cash flow tau, in comparison to receiving cash flow big T, we have to calculate future value of this one from tau to T. In order to calculate future value of this one from tau to big T, we have to multiply this one. So therefore, if we receive money tau, we value increases exactly this amount. Actually, this one multiplied by this amount. So this implies a convexity effect because we multiplication of this one. A high interest rate, if interest rate is high, not only produce the high cash flow, but also great return from compounding the cash flow from tau to T. Future value becomes higher. We receive payoff is high, now future value is high from tau to T. Similarly, a low interest rate produces a low cash flow, but also low compounding. Because of this convexity, higher volatility of the interest rate increases the value of the tau security compared with the T security. We have a square term. If interest rate increases, square term, it increases faster. So that we have convex. So if business is convex, we have high volatility, we become happier. About convexity adjustment, let's cover this one next class. Okay? Thank you and see you next week. Prepare your PPT.